let us continue with our original tale.
He closed his eyes for a moment, remembering where he'd been at in his telling.
Another difference between that far-off time and the present is that unicorns then came in every colour and had no breeding program like we do now. This meant that most unicorns didn't breed until they were well off into their 20s or even 30s, and some unicorn couples would only have 2 or 3 offspring in their lifetime. This kept the glory small, so small that they barely replaced unicorns as they were killed off. But since their numbers remained steady at around 80 to 100 head, they didn't see any reason to alter their breeding habits until a new enemy emerged.
Several of the older unicorns exchanged glances, and one stamped his hooves at the mention of the enemy. They had heard this story before and knew it was coming. Sol gave them a moment to punctuate his tale before slipping back into the flow.
This new enemy was a wicked sorcerer. He desired power above all else and sought to kill unicorns to get it. However, he soon found out that he didn't have the knowledge to preserve the alicorns, and if he didn't use them quickly after the unicorn's death, they became nearly useless. Blinded by his overwhelming greed, he offered up his soul in exchange for the solution to his dilemma. His prayers were answered. A wicked being, perhaps the devil himself, came to the sorcerer and said that if he could capture 25 unicorns under the age of 20 and lure them to a set location, the demon would give him the power he desired. The man thanked his dark helper and set about making his arrangements. There was a catch, though. The devil warned him if he didn't collect them in 20 years, his time would be up and his contract void. The price of such a failure would mean the demon would confiscate the sorcerer's life to go along with his soul. Doubly spurred by this news, the mage spent the next 5 years capturing every unicorn under the age of 20.
Oh, I am at the age of 20. Don't alicorns get more powerful with age?
Asked Vilera, the sister of Gilver and Shost, the story instigator and the sleeper respectively. They were about 6 months old now, and while Gilver was showing signs of being a future leader, Vilera, while quieter, seemed to have a faster brain. Shost showed signs of little besides sleep. Sol bobbed his head encouragingly.
An excellent question. Things were not the same for unicorns as they are now, but from what we can surmise, these unicorns could not breed before 20, nor could they take on human form before that age. But we think it was most important to his plan that he require virgins, innocents, unspoiled by coupling.
Vilera and the other younglings exchanged a look of shock. Sol surmised that it wasn't the concept of virginity that bothered them, but the thought of waiting until after 20 to take on a human form. The foals could often be heard discussing their dislike of waiting until age 3 to take on human form. They couldn't imagine waiting until they were 20. Wickering to regain their attention, he continued.
Once captured, he took them to a cave where, thanks to the demon, he had special chambers ready for them that would freeze them in time, until the rest could be collected. Unfortunately for the man, there were only about 13 unicorns under the age of 20 at the time of his agreement. However, with new births over the next 4 years, he was able to collect 21 before the unicorns detected that something out of the ordinary was happening. By the time the leaders of the Glory discovered the plot behind the disappearances, 2 more younglings had gone missing. It isn't said how they learned of the evil plan, but once they were aware, it was decided that breeding should cease until the timeline was over, and protecting any new babies on the way would be everyone's #1 priority. Shortly after that, another foal was born, and only 1 more was on the way. Besides these 2 eligible candidates, there was another youngster that was 19. Not long after that, the new foal was captured and his mother killed. The corrupt mage was only 1 unicorn shy of meeting his goal.
He paused to let his words sink in, as well as the abundance of numbers. If they'd kept up, which it was most likely that they all had except Shost, who appeared to be asleep again, they would realize that 24 of the required 25 unicorns had been caught, and only 2 possibilities remained for the mage to complete his set with. He smiled mentally, listening as Vilera woke up Shost and filled him in on the numbers he'd missed.
What happened next?
Vilera prompted once her brother was up to speed. Sol wickered amusedly.
By the time the 5th year since the start of the clock dawned, the 19-year-old colt was 20 and ineligible. However, the last foal, the last that had been conceived before the ban on breeding occurred, was born. The Glory knew what this would mean. The mage would hunt the little filly down. He would let nothing stop him from obtaining his last piece. It was decided that something drastic had to be done. The glory gathered their power together and placed a spell on the filly. They turned her into a human infant and hid her with a human family. It was here that she was to stay until the remaining 15 years were up, and she could come out of hiding. For her own safety, her memories of being a unicorn were sealed away, but they couldn't conceal her magical abilities. And despite the glory's valiant efforts, the mage discovered the hidden girl. So with only a day and a half until his deadline, he set out to capture her no matter what the cost.
Showed, oh my god, tongue twister, thank you. Shows showed, I can't do this without laughing now. Jesus.